Jackson Radio Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Kevin Jackson here. It's the Kevin Jackson Show. So, President Trump scored a victory last week when a federal judge refused to block his choice to temporarily run the nation's top consumer financial watchdog. And it ended the battle for the leadership of this particular agency known as the Cfpb. Judge Timothy Kelly declined to stop President Trump from putting Mick Mulvaney in place as the acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now, you know, if you're not following politics and you don't think about this type of stuff on a day-to-day basis, you probably don't even know what that thing does. What is the CFPB? And I've been dying to talk about this because this is a huge story. It's bigger than you can even imagine. So in doing so, Judge Kelly ruled against a lady named Leandra English, who was the Bureau's deputy director. Now, Leandra English had requested an emergency restraining order to stop Mulvaney from becoming the acting director. Now, Mulvaney and English had claimed to be the rightful director because they were citing different reasons. Obviously, Mulvaney was appointed by the president, and English, this is Leandra English, she said that Richard Cordray resigned and appointed her as his successor, who would take over the Bureau on an interim basis. Now, the judge's ruling isn't the final decision, but in making his decision, he said English had not shown a substantial likelihood that she eventually would succeed on the merits of her case. But his decision is not immediately appealable. Now, here's what this whole CFPB is about. The Dodd-Frank Act made the CFPB's unelected director the single most powerful official in the entire government other than the United States. The CFPB was strategically staffed from top to bottom with Democrats for the DNC to use as a donation slush fund. Now, that's the part you don't know about this. It sounds like Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Well, that sounds like it's going to protect us. Which should have been your first clue that it had nothing to do with helping you as a consumer or a taxpayer. Now, here's an excerpt from what the CFPB has done over just a short period of time. I'm reading this. Meanwhile, millions of dollars were diverted from the CFPB to Democratic allies. From 2014 to 2017, the Bureau paid $11 million a year to rent office space in an Obama fundraiser's building. Now, they could have gone into a government building, but they didn't. They rented for $11 million a year from 2014, 15, 16, and 17. That's 4 years. This person made $44 million for rent. Now, I don't know how many people were in this building and all that, but that's a lot of cheddar. And I would really like to see this building because I'm going to bet you this building is probably, like a crack house or something. The Dodd-Frank Act allowed the CFPB to send the civil money penalties collected in its law enforcement actions to a trustee of its choice, who, after taking a healthy cut, distributed the funds to ostensible victims in unrelated manners. So, the maneuver both enriched Democratic trustees and transformed fines extracted from defenseless businesses based on their deep pockets rather than the actual consumer harm into over $12 billion in damages, returned to 29 million injured consumers. To spread such propaganda, the Bureau paid, get this, you're going to love this, over $43 million to GMMB, a liberal advocacy group that created ads for Obama and Hillary Clinton's presidential campaigns. This is nothing more than a leftist slush fund, and it was all meant to keep Democrats in power. I remember we talked about this a long time ago, and I was saying to people, the Democrats are using our money to promote themselves. I don't remember what it was. Maybe you guys can look it up, but it was millions of dollars that Barack Obama had funneled away from something in order to say, hey, Barack Obama's great. Hey, don't you love Barack Obama's policies? And it was millions. And I'm pretty sure it was related to this, but I'm going from memory, so I'm not sure. Now, you wonder why this lady, I use that term loosely. What's her name? Leandra? Yeah, Leandra. Not Kelly, Leandra Green. Who cares? Anyway, the lady that wanted to stay in power. Is it any wonder why this woman fought so hard to keep that position? Is it any wonder? By the way, if you go back and you look up Robert Cordray, who was the person who left, he left because he got mad. I think he knew the writing was on the wall, so he ended up leaving, from what I heard, in a huff because President Trump wasn't allowing him to do what he was doing. And he knew they were going to start looking into him. And trust me when I tell you, this is not the last time you're going to hear that name. Somehow he's going to find himself embroiled in a scandal. You can't do what these guys did and get away with this. Another uncloaking of a scheme by the left has been uncovered. And I want to just rehash real briefly what I just said. These guys rented their office in an Obama donor, a Democrat donor's building for $11 million a year. There are government buildings sitting empty all over this country. And they rented their office in a building of a donor, an Obama fundraiser's building, to the tune of $44 million of your dollars. Then they took billions of dollars that they got from extorting companies. Oh, you didn't meet this thing or that, and it's an agency that can just come down on you like OSHA or whatever and say you owe a fine. BP, for example, this arbitrary fine. You've got to pay $16 billion in fines for leaking into the ocean on our side of the ocean. Okay, so they pay the fines, and then BP puts that money in the slush fund, and then the slush fund goes out and indiscriminately goes, well, Black Lives Matter, you've been hurt, haven't you? Antifa, you've been hurt, haven't you? Occupy Wall Street, I can certainly see some pain you're suffering. And it goes out and it gives this money to all of its cronies. Any crazy organization that's against you, for them, let me tell you, dismantling these guys is one of the most powerful things that Donald Trump is doing. And let me tell you, he's going to be able to appoint whoever he wants to this particular thing. And I don't know the details. I don't know if that's the president's prerogative or how it works. But I do know this. Over the last 8 years, the DNC has used this organization. The Democrats have used it in order to further their cause. They haven't spent a nickel of their money. And when they claim, how much money they spent on the election for Hillary Clinton, they aren't counting this, I guarantee you. Short break. We'll be back.
This is the Kevin Jackson Radio Show.